James Bond doesn't just drive a car, he wields one. And in 1964, the Aston Martin DB5 didn't just roll onto screen, it rewrote the rules of cool forever. But behind that gleaming silver shell, espionage-grade secrets, near disasters, and a machine that almost never made it past the studio lot. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about the Aston Martin DB5, Goldfinger 1964. And wait for the bonus, because one of these icons just vanished from a museum and reappeared in a billionaire's underground vault. Number 20. The DB5 wasn't even supposed to be in Goldfinger. You think Bond and the DB5 were destiny? Think again. The script originally called for a Jaguar E-type, sleek, British, and already a star. But Jaguar said no, flat out. Didn't want their car associated with spy nonsense. So producers turned to Aston Martin, a struggling boutique brand on the brink of bankruptcy. Aston said yes, for $2,000 and a handshake. That's it. No royalties, no merch rights. Just 2 cars and a prayer. We needed the exposure, admitted factory manager John Wire. And exposure they got, enough to save the company. Without that no from Jaguar, Bond might have been dodging bullets in a green E-type, and cinema would have lost its most iconic ride. Number 19. Only 2 DB5s were modified for the film, and neither had all the gadgets. Hollywood loves multiples. But for Goldfinger, they only had 2 DB5s. One was the road car, polished, pristine, used for close-ups and dialogue scenes. The other? The effects car, gutted, wired, and packed with crude mechanical tricks. But here's the twist. No single car had every gadget. The ejector seat, only in the effects car. The bulletproof shield, only tested on a third, non-filming prototype. The revolving license plates, hand-cranked off-camera. We faked half of it, admitted special effects wizard John Steers. But the audience never knew. And they still don't, because the illusion was perfect. Number 18. The ejector seat nearly killed Sean Connery. During a test run, the seat's pneumatic system misfired. Instead of a smooth launch, it jerked upward with enough force to crack the chassis. Connery, sitting in the passenger seat for a rehearsal, watched a dummy fly 30 feet into a tree. "If that had been me," he later said, "I'd be fertilizing Scotland by now." The team recalibrated with weaker charges, but kept the drama. In the final scene, the seat only lifts a few inches. The rest? Clever editing and a dummy on a wire. Still, the risk was real. One wrong bolt, one faulty seal, and 007's legacy ends in a hospital bed. Number 17. The DB5's gadgets were so advanced, MI6 took notes. Seriously. After the film's release, Britain's real intelligence agency reportedly visited the set. Not to recruit Connery, but to study the car's feasible tech. The smokescreen? Already in use by police. The oil slick? Adapted from military convoy tactics, even the tire slashers inspired real counter-pursuit tools. Fiction leads reality, said a declassified memo, allegedly. Of course, the machine guns and ejector seat, pure fantasy. But the concept, a mobile spy platform, stuck. Decades later, the CIA would test armored vehicles with deployable drones. Call it the Bond ripple effect. Number 16. The car's color wasn't silver. It was Dubonnet red underneath. That iconic Silver Birch finish? It wasn't factory spec. Aston Martin delivered the DB5s in Dubonnet red étoile, a deep wine hue. But director Guy Hamilton wanted something colder, more metallic, more secret agent. So the crew resprayed both cars in Silver Birch, a color so reflective it caused lighting nightmares. It acted like a mirror, cinematographer Ted Moore complained. Every lamp, every crew member, it all bounced back. They had to drape black cloths around the set just to control glare. Yet that shine became the DB5's signature. Without that last-minute paint job, Bond's car might have looked like a vintage Bordeaux. Elegant, but not lethal. Number 15. The machine guns were fake, but the sound was terrifyingly real. Those twin Browning replicas mounted behind the headlights, just hollow shells. But the sound? Recorded from actual 303 rifles at a military range. Sound designer Norman Wanstall wanted authenticity, so he stood 50 yards from live fire, mic in hand, as bullets ripped through bales of hay. "I lost hearing in one ear for a week," he joked. The result? A bark so sharp, audiences ducked in theaters. Fun fact, the guns fire 17 times in the film, but the DB5 only has room for 12 rounds. Continuity? Who needs it when you've got style? Number 14. Aston Martin didn't profit from the DB5's fame. For 30 years, the company loaned the cars, got screen credit, and watched their sales triple overnight. But legally? They owned zero rights to the Bond Association, no licensing, no toy royalties, nothing. For decades, Corgi and Matchbox sold millions of DB5 toys. Aston saw not a penny. It wasn't until the 1990s that they finally struck a deal with Eon Productions. By then, the DB5 had become so synonymous with Bond that Aston Martin started offering James Bond edition models. Irony? They had to pay to use their own car's legacy. Number 13. The revolving license plates were powered by a car battery and a shoelace. Yes, really. The plates flipped via a small electric motor, but the switch was hidden in the gear shift. Problem? The wiring kept shorting. So Steers jury-rigged a backup, a shoelace tied to the plate mechanism running through the firewall. Off-camera, a crew member would yank it by hand. Low-tech, but it worked, he grinned. During filming in Switzerland, the shoelace froze solid. They used hairdryers between takes. Not exactly Q branch, but hey, it got the shot. Number 12. The DB5's first post-film owner crashed it on purpose. After Goldfinger, the road car was sold to a Florida radio DJ for $12,000. He drove it daily until he staged a fake accident to collect insurance. He backed it into a tree, claimed vandals, and pocketed the payout. The car was repaired, resold, and eventually restored. But that dent? Still visible under UV light. Crime doesn't pay, but in this case, it almost got away with Bond's Chariot. Number 11. The bulletproof rear shield jammed during filming and saved a crew member's life. In the scene where Bond activates the shield to block Oddjob's razor-rimmed hat, the hydraulic mechanism seized. The metal panel only rose halfway. But that half-shield? It deflected a stray piece of flying metal from a pyrotechnic misfire. "It clipped the edge and ricocheted into the grass," said camera assistant Peter Lamont. "If it had hit John Steers, he'd have lost an eye." So, the malfunction became a safety feature. Sometimes, even spy tech works better broken. Number 10. The DB5's interior was stripped of wood trim for weight and wires. Aston Martins are known for walnut dashboards, but the film cars? Bare metal. Why? Every ounce mattered for stunt driving, and every inch hid wires. The glove box? Removed to fit the smokescreen canister. The center console? Hollowed out for the oil slick reservoir. Even the door panels were thinned to run cables for the tire slashers. "It looked like a submarine in there," Connery said. "All dials, switches, and paranoia. Luxury. Not on this mission." Number 9. This car made Aston Martin cool and nearly bankrupted them trying to keep up. After Goldfinger, demand for the DB5 exploded. But Aston Martin only built 887 units total. Ever. They couldn't scale, couldn't automate. Hand-built each one in a tiny Newport Pagnell factory. Orders poured in from movie stars, mobsters, and Middle Eastern royals. But production lagged. Costs soared. By 1970, the company was drowning in debt. The DB5 saved their image, but almost killed their business. It took a Ford buyout in 1987 to finally stabilize them, all because one spy needed a ride. If you'd risk your life for a spin in that ejector seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the machines that shaped cinema. Now, back to the vault, because the next facts are classified. Number 8. The DB5's tire slashers were real, but only worked once. Mounted behind the rear wheels, these spring-loaded blades could shred pursuer tires on command. In testing, they worked flawlessly. For one use. The mechanism bent on deployment and couldn't reset. So for the film, they used a static rig, blades pre-extended, car driven past at speed. The activation, you see? Pure theater. But the effect? So convincing, real police forces inquired about licensing it. Aston politely declined. "We build grand tourers." They said, not death traps. Number 7. Sean Connery refused to drive the DB5 at high speed. Despite his tough guy image, Connery wasn't a car guy. He found the DB5 nervous and too twitchy. During the Swiss mountain chase, he insisted on a double. Stunt driver Rémi Julien. "I'll do the close-ups," Connery said, "but if you want drifting, get a Frenchman." Julien, a rally legend, performed the entire sequence in one take. No CGI, no second chances, just a DB5, a cliff edge, and nerves of steel. Connery watched from a safe distance, sipping tea. Number 6. The smokescreen used military-grade titanium tetrachloride, not fog juice, not dry ice. Titanium tetrachloride, a chemical that reacts with moisture to create thick, white smoke. It's also highly corrosive. During tests, it ate through exhaust pipes and blistered paint. "We had to line the reservoir with lead," Steers recalled. One leak during filming sent the crew running, coughing, eyes watering. The Swiss authorities nearly shut them down. But the screen effect? Worth the chemical burns. That smoke doesn't just hide Bond, it haunts the frame. Number 5. The DB5's gear shift hit a secret compartment. For cigarettes. Not microfilm, not cyanide pills. Cigarettes. Connery was a chain smoker, so the prop team hollowed out the gear knob to hold his Morlands. "He'd flick it open between takes," said assistant director Peter Hunt. "Like a real spy needing a nicotine fix." The compartment was so well hidden, later restorers missed it for decades. Found it only when the knob cracked during polishing. Even 007 needs his vices. Number 4. One DB5 was stolen from an airport and recovered in a junkyard. In 1970, the effects car was shipped to the US for a promotional tour. At LAX, it vanished from a cargo hangar, presumed gone forever. Then, in 1982, a junkyard owner in Miami spotted a silver Aston with odd wiring and fake guns. He called the FBI. The car was covered in rust, missing its engine, but the VIN matched. How it got there? Never solved. Some say a disgruntled handler sold it. Others whisper it was used in a real heist. Either way, it survived, and now lives in a private collection, bullet holes and all. Number 3. The DB5's engine was detuned, for reliability, not stealth. The real DB5 packed a 4.0L straight 6, making 282 horsepower. But the film cars tuned down to 240. Cheap base rail. Why? Because stunt driving in the Swiss Alps demanded consistency, not speed. Overheating was a constant threat, so they reduced compression, softened the cam, and added an auxiliary oil cooler. "We needed it to run for 12 hours straight," said mechanic Les Spackman. "Not win Le Mans." So Bond's car, actually slower than a stock DB5, the ultimate irony? Number 2. The car's horn was replaced with a police siren. For the scene where Bond impersonates a cop, the DB5 needed to blare an authentic siren. So they ripped out the factory horn and wired in a Federal Q2B, the same model used by US police in the 60s. Problem? It drew so much current, it drained the battery in minutes. They had to install a second battery just for the horn. And during filming in Geneva, it accidentally activated, sending real police racing to the set. "We had to bribe them with champagne," laughed producer Albert R. Broccoli. Number 1. The DB5 inspired real spy cars during the Cold War. After Goldfinger, the KGB and CIA both explored gadget cars. The Soviets built a ZIL limo with retractable machine guns. The Americans tested a Lincoln with radar jamming paint. None matched Q Branch, but the obsession was real. Declassified documents show the CIA even considered an ejector seat for diplomatic escapes. Too flashy, they concluded. But the dream lived on. Because once Bond raised the bar, every intelligence agency wanted their own silver chariot. Bonus. One original DB5 sold for $6.4 million, then vanished again. In 2010, the road car, the one Connery actually sat in, sold at auction for $4.6 million. Then in 2022, it reappeared at a private sale for $6.4 million. But days after the handover, it disappeared from a high-security garage in Monaco. No alarms tripped, no witnesses, just gone. Rumor says it's now in a Dubai penthouse, locked behind bulletproof glass. The buyer? Anonymous. The motive? Not money. Legacy. Because owning the DB5 isn't about driving, it's about touching myth. There are only 3 original Bond DB5s left, and one's a fake. Of the 2 film cars, one was destroyed in a 1997 fire, the effects car replica. The road car survives. But in the 1980s, Aston Martin built 8 official replicas for promotional use. One of those, chassis DB5 2002R, was so perfectly detailed it fooled experts for years. It even appeared in Skyfall. But in 2019, forensic analysis revealed it had modern wiring and a fiberglass hood. Not original, not authentic, just a beautiful lie. So when you see a Bond DB5 at a show, ask for the VIN, because in the world of 8007, even the truth has an ejector seat.